What is up, fellas? It's me, Rudolfo Silva again, on your streaming channel. I am back. I told you guys I would be back. So, today we're gonna go for a more technical stream. I told you guys that the stream was going to be about me working on pieces at least once a week. I have failed in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sorry for that. A lot of work on my personal side of things. And so I have this piece that I'm finishing up for a portfolio piece that I wanted to keep working while on stream. I'm eventually gonna work outside of stream as well, but you know, it's a piece for a game art portfolio piece, so it's like I'm still in the ZBrush phase, so I thought it would be awesome to just walk you guys through the process itself, which is a little all over the place in a sense. I'm experimenting a lot with different techniques. I'm gonna show you guys like how would I go about it. Okay, so this is, let me know if the audio is okay, if you guys are, if the music's too loud, or if my voice not being heard quite well. I'm trying to mix and match both of my audio cables. Like I have two virtual audio cables, so I can tweak things on the fly. So yeah, this is the piece we're gonna go through today, and I'm also going to go through a few workflow quirks that I've used on this piece. I used a lot of cheats and shortcuts for this. I actually reused assets, retopologized a lot of assets, sculpted on them. I did a lot of technical, you know, stuff here that probably most ZBrush users don't use, which is something most people don't even know that it's possible to do in ZBrush. So yeah, what I intend to do in this piece is actually just finish this. This is still in the blockout phase. You can see right here, it's still just a couple of of primitives with polygroups assigned, so I can control like how the overall shape right here in the silhouette looks like, so it fits my vision. I'm sort of doing concept at the same time while I'm actually modeling, which is something that I learned from Michael Pavlovich's workshop. I did a course, as I told you guys, during the Zbrush Summit. I know we didn't actually talk a lot because it was the Zbrush Summit, the Sculpt Off, so I was doing a competition, so it's not, you know, easy for me to talk. But I did a couple of courses in these last a couple of months, not a couple of months, I mean half a year. I've been doing courses. Hey, irmãos brasileiros, tá tudo? I'm sorry, the Brazilian fella went on the chat in Portuguese, so I understand Portuguese. Okay, so I did a couple of courses, a lot of courses actually in the last 6 months, and the first one was Paul Gavery's Gnomon School Visual Effects class in Advanced Digital Sculpting. I actually enrolled in Gnomon back in March, I think. Yeah, March, around March, April maybe. And then I actually, after I finished that, I enrolled in Michael Pavlovich's class on CGMA. And both Michael Pavlovich's class and Ben Keeling's class on Substance Designer and Substance Painter. But both Paul and Mike actually taught me a lot about ZBrush. Paul was a lot, you know, going through hard surface techniques in ZBrush. A lot of tools, a lot of polygrouping, a lot of array mesh, I don't know, like dynamic subdivision, booleans, you know, using group loops, panel loops, using a lot of brushes and non-destructive workflows to work with hard surface. Even we did a mech, something hard surface. I did a Gundam actually, but a lot of people did like cars, weapons, and stuff like that. And then Michael's was more like each week we would have to turn in like 2-3 assignments per week, which is because it was a class based off concepting and ideation using the whole range of tools in ZBrush. And so both classes were really, really pivotal for me when it comes to my workflow, because I used to do most of this stuff right here in Maya and then just import like the final mesh, the final like base mesh into ZBrush and then just sculpt it. And now I just don't do that anymore. I usually go to Maya when I'm doing the final sort of retopology, the final retopology for the game prop itself to go in the engine. This little thing you see right here is a custom cam view that I actually did based off a sculpt of mine, Majin Buu's sculpt. But yeah, so now I primarily use ZBrush because I can so easily and quickly iterate with ideas and stuff like that. You can see, like, for example, right here, this is an array. If I turn off array mesh, it just disappears. That's like an instancing stuff that's happening right there. So I'm saving on total points, and by the end, I'll just basically, let me just put this on a lower key right here. So basically at the end, I'll have a lot more polygons than I have right now. But for now, since I'm still working on this, and this is all going to be asymmetrical, so I can't do like array mesh stuff. So there's a lot of things to go through here. I'm thinking about like sculpting some vines going around these pillars. But I'm actually first gonna walk you through how I did this, for example. This is still not finished, as you can see, going into solo mode right here. And this is not at all finished. It's still very blocky. Let me just, because of the document thing. Yeah, so this is not at all finished. You can still see that it's still low polygon-ish, so it's still sculptable, and I'm still gonna go through that. But what I did, actually, I reused some Megascans assets, and I'm gonna walk you through how I did that. It's fairly easy, but you can then sort of retopology everything and then work with your retopologized mesh because it's better for sculpting. And yeah, so let's just do it. I'm gonna show you guys like how I do it. So I'm gonna open up a new tool right here, like Polymesh 3D, make Polymesh 3D, and then go into subtool. And first of all, I'm gonna show you guys like what Quixel Bridge looks like. Like, it's gonna look different in a couple of months now because of Unreal Engine 5 that's gonna release, and this is gonna be sort of embedded into the engine. This is actually, let me show you guys like full screen. This is actually a library of assets, of finalized, like game ready, photoreal, scannable, like scanned assets. So they scan these assets using photogrammetry and a lot of different techniques, actually, not just photogrammetry. And then they sort of do like the retopo and cleaning work, and then they also scan like the textures, and then they not compress them, but they rework them to be like a 4K texture. Some of them are tileable, others are not. You can actually search like for surfaces, and this is actually materials and textures that you can import it, because this is free as long as you have an Unreal Engine build in your you can actually use this for free on Unreal Engine. And since Unreal Engine is free, and you can use it for free up until like you make, I don't know, like $10 million or something from a game. So it's technically free for students and for people that are just, hobbyists and stuff like that. And so this is also pretty awesome if you want to create your own materials in Unreal Engine, for example, and you just need some, textures, and you don't feel like going through Substance Designer and Substance Painter and stuff like that. This is an amazing resource because it has hundreds of textures. Hundreds of photoreal 4K, 8K textures. You can see the download settings. I can go 2K, 4K, 8K, and then you have the different maps right here. So it's pretty cool, but they also have like 3D assets, which are also scanned. And you could go, for example, historical, and you get like a stone well like this, and you can actually preview it in 3D, go full screen, and you can actually see like the asset itself. This is game ready, by the way. This is where all triangles and then the texture is all baked in. This is actually pretty awesome. It's a nice resource if you're just testing out. If, for example, you're more into like level design, less into the art part, you can use this to build your own game and then just work out the mechanics and the technical stuff, which is awesome. But also you can use this as an artist, as sort of a base to sculpt off. So what I'm doing right here is actually I'm going super stylized, as you can see. Oh, where is it? Okay. I'm going like super stylized in terms of art direction. It's not at all realist, but I am using some of those assets. For example, this here is like a ruins, like a column that I've imported from Megascans, and then I stylized the realism out of it, sort of. So this is actually an original model. It's not an original concept. The concept is by Bernardo Cristóvão. I'm not sure if he's Portuguese or Brazilian, but I'm pretty sure he's one of both. But he's an awesome concept artist. This is an old concept by him, and I did this as a demo for my classes in 3D modeling and texturing for games. And then I sort of went to the next level and actually did the whole sculpt in ZBrush. Like I did the base modeling in Maya, like I would normally do like a couple of years ago. And then I sort of, I wanted to do like a nice render in this, like bake the textures, do the retopology, and then just make a nice like marmoset render. But then I figured, like, what the heck? I'm gonna create a nice little like sort of throne or shrine around this, and I created this. So this was also like a very simple primitive in ZBrush, and then subdivided and sort of sculpted in. This is an alpha that I worked in Photoshop. This is a rune from World of Warcraft. So I worked that in Photoshop based off of images and concepts, and imported an alpha and just sculpted it there. I could have used like morph targets and stuff like that, but who cares? Or surface detail, something like that. All right, so I'm still pondering if I'm going to go like the Unreal Engine part and just import this into Unreal Engine, make the renders in Unreal Engine, or if I'm gonna go for like a marmoset sort of workflow, which is almost the same. It's not the same because I could. In Unreal Engine, I'm thinking, okay, so might be nice to have a couple of flames here, like fire. Maybe like these crystals right here could glow. Do some material effects, like shader effects and stuff like that. Visual effects right here using Niagara particle systems. Maybe like the glow and the lighting could be enhanced with height fog, which is a little better in Unreal Engine than it is on Marmoset, because you have a lot more control over it naturally. Because it's a real-time game engine, so you have a lot of possibilities, a lot of flexibility to do something like that. All right, but going back to the Megascans workflow, what I do is I actually go here. For example, let's search for something like nature, maybe like a rock. Let me just check. I go historical. This rock right here, mossy boulder. Let me check if it's capped. All right, nice. So for example, let's imagine that I want to do this, but I want to stylize it, and I want to just use this as a base, so I can tweak like the shapes, even the silhouette. I could exaggerate a few pieces right here and there, but I want to do like the whole thing in ZBrush. But I don't want to go like, I don't want to concept this out just a little bit, just tweak it to fit like an art direction scope, which is actually what you want to do when you have like a tight deadline. You want to work smart and not work harder. You need to work hard, of course, but you want to work smart because you have a deadline, so you have to finish it by then. So imagine I want to go and just get this into ZBrush, which is fairly easy. Just go to download settings, just choose the LOD, so it's like level of detail. So I always choose like LOD number 0. This is actually, for those of you who don't know, like LODs are like level of details. If you play games, you see that in the options menu. Level of detail is actually like different versions of the model that the engine actually swaps based on the distance from the camera. So like this LOD, for example, has like 326 triangles, which is meant to be seen like from very far away. So you wouldn't even tell. You couldn't even tell like if it is low poly or not, because you can only see like a little small hint of that. So yeah, this LOD system is a whole different thing. I might do a different stream on that. But LOD number 0, I usually go for it because it preserves like the shape so much better. And I'm gonna retopologize this anyway, so who cares, right? So the texture is irrelevant because I'm not gonna download the texture. So if I go to global settings, it eventually is gonna like import the textures I have like ticked, but I don't want any of this. So I can just, you know, untick any of this and then just download the LOD number 0. It's exactly what I want. So if I download it, I have signed in with my Epic Games account, so it detects that I'm using like a license. All right, so I have downloaded it, I think. Yeah, okay, so it's finished. So if I open up like my documents folder, I have like a Megascans documents folder right there. Megascans library, I go to downloaded and then just go to 3D. And you have like historical photo Japan, Vim, whatever. It's the name of the asset. So, and I have the LOD 0 right here. So if I go to ZBrush again right now, like let me just open up this Polymesh 3D because it has a lot less polygons. So I could just go here and then just import. And if I import, I can import actually FBX, GoZ, Maya files. I can even import a whole scene from Maya, which is useful for environment blockouts because sometimes you really want to use something like Maya or 3ds Max in order to block out an environment because it's like the measurement system is just more precise. It's not as all over the place as in ZBrush. Like ZBrush is cool in terms of measurements. You could use a lot of tools like Scale Master and stuff like that to optimize your proportion, but it's primarily focused. It's great for like 3D printing or characters or figurines, but for environments, which is like big ass scale, you don't want to use that. You want to use like a DCC software like 3ds Max, Blender, Maya, whatever. So I'm gonna go through here and I'm gonna go and do like Megascans library. Where's my Megascans library? Here it is. And then download it, 3D, and date modified. Here it is. LOD number 0. Here it is, an FBX. And as you can see, again, the texturing is irrelevant. As soon as I import this, you can see it's switched like the Polymesh 3D. You can see like the topology. It doesn't look as detailed and as realist as the one we had like in the interface. And that is because most of the details that you actually see on game models, even in game, like when you are playing a game, most of the detail actually doesn't come from the modeling itself. It comes from texturing, from the bakes, from the high poly sculpting baking, and from the procedural materials that are created, some effects maybe, some vertex painting on top. So there's a lot of texturing work and technical stuff that goes into making this detail. But most of this is actually texture. And you can see like it's way rounded. Even here it looks rounded because the topology, the only thing you want to worry about for games is actually if the silhouette is faceted or not. Like the final mesh, the only requirement is you can't have like a harsh facet on the asset. As long as, you know, if it's not noticeable, it's okay. Because you could be like, the game could be like an isometric view or something that's viewed from very far away. And you could have a lower poly count and then just, you know, because it wouldn't notice anything. Again, but then again, this LOD is not fit for a game that, it's an asset that's meant to be looked like real close. So you can see here, this is not ideal for sculpting. This is not at all ideal for sculpting because it's all triangulated. Again, it's made for a game engine. Game engines eventually triangulate the mesh anyway, so it's a little tessellated right there. You can see a lot of like there were a lot of technical algorithms going through this, and maybe a little bit of manual things going on right here. I doubt it actually. I think they have like their own like in-house software to do this, but again, you could do something like this instantly in like Houdini or something like that. So yeah, okay, so we have this. We want to like sort of paint polygroups maybe. There are like a couple of ways I could go about like resculpting this or retopologizing this. Most of the people's minds would go immediately towards like Z-Remesher, and because it's procedural, it's an automatic tool for procedural geometry creation or recreation in a sense. Z-Remesher is actually pretty straightforward. If you click just off the bat, Z-Remesher is gonna rework your topology and give you clean topology that's subdividable, so you can actually subdivide this. And this is actually fairly okay, actually, like for sculpting, I mean, not for the final res model that I would do like manually. This is actually okay for sculpting. It detected the edges fairly nice, I think. But most of the edges, you can see like tessellation is going on right there. It means there's a lot more density on the edges. That's because you actually have the harsh edges. When you look like at the silhouette, it needs to be harsher, so it needs to be has a lot more detail right there. All right, so you can actually select detect edges, and it's gonna try to look at in different facets and edges and give us a little better result. Not that different. If you use polygroups, however, let's just do something real quick. Let's just duplicate this and work on this clone right here, sort of clone. And then we could use, for example, like in procedural stuff, you could actually go to plugin, polygroup it, and use polygroup it. I'm not sure if it's gonna crash my stream, but it's basically another application. It's an OpenGL application, so it's using my graphics card. And it's actually, if you just click here. Okay. Why is it not working? Wow, it's not working. Jesus. Why is it not working? Maybe it's the graphics card, I don't know. Yeah, it's not doing what I wanted it to. Okay, so yeah, I just click on it. It should work fine, but for some reason it's not on my computer. And it creates a seed, and then you could just, just extend this and get a polygroup. Why do I want polygroups? Because Z-Remesher is actually going to look at polygroups and try to get like a clean edge right here at the edge of the polygroup. This is actually a little wonky, so let's try and get another. Let's just create random sort of like seeds right here. These are called seeds. If I just click this, I could change the threshold of this seed. It's gonna go a little bonkers on me sometimes. If I could just fill this up and then just create another one here and overlap it. This is how I usually work. Oh jeez, it's going nuts on me again. Yeah, streaming and this doesn't work pretty well. Okay, let me just seed this through. All right, something like that. Let's just create another seed right there. All right, let's go ahead and maybe we could move this. Why do I have another seed? Yeah, maybe I'm creating two seeds. Maybe I'm creating two seeds. I don't know. No, I'm not. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, sometimes it's better to just use the mouse with this for some reason. I don't know why. But this is an option. This is not necessarily an option I would go through while retopologizing. I would do it manually. But if you want to get like quick edge loops and just go around and do something like this, that's completely fine. We could create another seed right here. I could just change the color or something. It's not allowing me to change the color. Let me just grab this one and maybe raise the threshold. I could just go in and just say grow. Yeah, growing. It's growing until it fills in the blanks, basically. So this is one way. It's procedural, but as you can see, it's taking way too long, even if it's procedural. Sometimes when you do procedural stuff, for the sake of just going in and sculpting, maybe it's okay as long as it's fast, right? Because in production you don't want to, you know, take too much time to finish like a scope. At least to get a basic sculpt to show someone, like your art director or colleagues or something like that. So you don't want to be too precious. But let's imagine like this wonky polygroups thing, whatever, is our polygroup. Let's create another seed right here. Maybe something like that. And then just grow. Maybe like this. And then we could always tweak, like, all right, maybe this could grow as well, just to fill in those gaps right there. Because eventually we're gonna project the details anyway, so I don't really care too much for this. But yeah, I could just work this out, get this in, just grow again, create maybe another one right here, and just something like that, and then grow it. Maybe just get this seed to be something like this, and then whatever, you get the point, right? It's like, who cares? Okay, so now we have polygroups. Like, those polygroups were assigned to our mesh, and now I could, for example, just select these, and then maybe just go in and manually just go in and with the select lasso, just go like this and deselect all of this. Deselect all of this. All right, there it is. And as you can see, I have multiple polygroups. I just could do Control W, and now I have a polygroup like this. And I could also do the same for these two. Just go in and deselect all of this that I don't want to include in my polygroup, sort of, more or less. This is just for show. So again, check this one. All right, I don't want any of this. Like so. Right, something like that, right? Maybe this one could be all the same. Maybe not this one. And maybe maybe something like that. Whoops. Maybe something like that. And let me just remove this one from here. And here we go. Maybe get this one. You need to do a lot of cleanup, and that's why I don't use procedural methods. Maybe Houdini would be a nice place to actually go procedural on this kind of stuff, especially for mesh retopology. If you want to know more about Houdini's retopology tools, like, you could go to Michael Pavlovich's YouTube channel. He has a whole playlist on, it's called Instant Retopology in Houdini. That's amazing, like an amazing playlist. I would so look that up, really. I'm not a big guy on Houdini, not yet. I plan on learning it. So I have a couple of things working out. It's something that I want to tell you guys also. I am planning on doing a master's degree in game art, and I also have a few other projects on the horizon for me, like personal projects, and I'm so excited for them. But also, what I want to let you guys know is that from now on, I'm gonna go slightly more technical on these streams, because that's exactly where my career is taking me. My personality sort of, I think I come to terms with that when at this year's THU, I just realized that I'm a very technical person. That's who I am. I don't need to sort of hide that from anyone. It's okay if you're more technical like me. It's completely fine. There's a place for you in the industry as well, and it can still be a lot creative even if you're a technical guy. Michael Pavlovich is a technical artist, for example. He does ZBrush, he does sculpture, he does like characters and stuff like that as well, but he's super technical. That's his role at certain affinity. So yeah, imagine like this is my polygroups. I go to Z-Remesh, I just select keep groups, detect edges, maybe smooth groups down to 0, and then just go in target poly count, maybe like the same. I don't care actually. Adaptive size, maybe I'll keep the adaptive size on and just Z-remesh it. And as you can see, it's gonna create like an edge loop right there. Maybe it's gonna create a few wonky things like right there, for example. So if I smooth this out, you can see like this is this is like noisy geometry. You don't want to have this at all. So I can easily just go in with my Z modeler brush and just go in like this, like this with shifts, and then just paint over, like, because it's so low poly, you could actually just go in and paint this over, like just to get like a nice edge loop right there. So it helps the Z modeler out to figure out what do you guys like want to do. Like I could just go in real quick with Z modeler, collapse edge, and just collapse this edge right there. Whoops. Collapse this edge. But you can see why I rarely do like procedural stuff in ZBrush. Anywhere really, because it would be so much faster to just go in and create a few polygons right here. Also, this is not working, so I might just go in and whoops, and just paint this with the thing I want. Just paint the poly group right there. And again, if you choose keep groups, it should ideally keep the groups and do edge loops around, or try to make edge loops around it. I could also just go in and do, for example, oh, my custom menu is not loaded. Restore custom UI, I have a few shortcuts here. You could just do polish by groups, slight polish by groups, and it's gonna try to polish the groups. This is noisy geometry. I don't really even want to look at this, Jesus. All right, I could just do something like that. You can see that that is not ideal. Those are like flipped normals and stuff like that. Very, very bad even for sculpting. All right, so if I just smooth this out, it's creating that weird geometry right there. So I could just go to Z-remesher, do the same. And it's sort of trying to fix it, but you can see there's a lot of cleanup involved. Again, if you go this route, you could just go in, have this topology that's sort of, clean, the sculpt, and then just go in with your subtool active, both subtools active, and then just go and do a quick project and project just the geometry. We don't want to project any color. And now even your retopologized mesh has all the sort of facets, the major facets, and you could just easily sculpt it right there. But what I would also love to do and show you guys is actually how I would go about like manually retopologizing this. And this is actually there's like 5 ways you could do this in ZBrush. You could go the easy like topology brush. And the topology brush is basically like a brush that you could just draw out your loops like so, like this, for example, and then create like loops like this. This is one of my favorite methods. It's not ideal for certain situations, but it's still one of my favorites. I could just go like this and then click here to continue like the edge. And then you could just go bam, whoops, and then just go bam. It's not creating the geometry. Don't know why. Let me just go bam, bam. Yeah, it's creating a topology right there. Oh, okay, so I see this. This is happening. Sometimes this is like a big no-no. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Like that, and maybe like this. So this tool is actually better if you just draw over the line. So if I go like this, you can see like I'm drawing topology on top. This would be like one of my preferred methods to go about doing retopology. You could go in, for example, extend this outward, and now you have like sort of like this, and now you have like all these polygons. And the thing is, you could actually just tie in all of these polygons and then just go in the middle and do something like that, and you have topology right there. I don't want it right there, so I want it something like this. Whoops, not like this, maybe something like that. Not picking that up. Let me see, something went wrong here with this one. Yeah, so I want to go something like that, something like that, and something like that. Still issues. It's okay. Like, root topology takes time. That's just the way it is. I go like this, it's smooth. So I could just draw this over and try to go in and then just create the polygons like by hand, and then I could just tweak it later, like so. Something like that, and then just go in and tie this up and go nuts on this. You can see I could just tweak this later. Doesn't really matter. Maybe I could delete these points. Just tie this in. Yeah, it's okay. I could tweak this later using ZModeler topology. Oof, to autosave. Yeah. So this is one method. Like, the topology brush is just one of like 5 methods I know how to do retopology. And this is just one way, and I could just as easily just go in, draw the whole thing, go in like this, draw the whole thing. Whoops, let me try to be precise here. Draw the whole thing, and as you can see, it's very artist friendly in the sense that it allows you to be as drawy, artsy fartsy with your, because technically you're drawing the topology, which is something that I always had fun with while doing studies for retopology, because I do that often. I just I do a basic render of the mesh and then just sort of draw over in Photoshop to see, like, to get my brain working on how I would go about like solving a lot of this stuff. Let me just do this all over again. All right, so this is fine. Maybe I want a few edge loops right there. Yeah, something like that. And then let me just work this piece by piece. Something like that. Drawing over. And now, for example, if I want to do something like that, could just tweak the draw size and get like this line in and maybe this line in, and you can see I have already like 2 polygons right there, maybe another one right here, maybe another one right there, maybe another one right there. Just go nuts and draw the topology as you would in Photoshop or something like that. Just go nuts. And then use something like the other method, which is ZModeler topology, to actually tweak this to get it like more even and on this exact spot that you want. But this is how I would do it with ZModeler topology, with the topology brush approach. All right. So again, if I clean this up, you can see I already have like a few things going on right here, and then just tweak this up. Just draw the whole topology. Right. So this is one way. One tool. Let's talk about tools, right? Because again, there are no rules for this. There's like not one way that you could do like something like retopology in ZBrush. It doesn't really matter as long as the end result is optimized and the mesh is tight and not like very, very dense. It all depends on the brief, of course, like the brief you guys have. If you have a brief that allows you to have like, I don't know, 100,000 polygons like for a game, which is like something that would be like, I don't know, like a character or maybe like a side character or something like that. I know like Horizon Zero Dawn's female like protagonist you know, the girl, I didn't play it, but you know, the girl that comes with the covers and stuff like that, she's around like 500,000 polygons, and I think most of the polygons are her hair, because her hair like has simulations and stuff like that, so the cards are very dense. There's a lot of hair cards going on right there, so there's a lot of geometry in those cards, so it bends like naturally. But normally, I would say, I don't know, like for AAA game, like 200,000 for a main character is already like a very dense character. That is eventually going to change like within this next generation, of course. Yeah, Unreal Engine is already presenting like nanite, which is freaking crazy technology going on right there. It's like, I can't even explain how it works. I never worked with it before, so I would have to toy around with it a little bit. So yeah, you can see it's just fairly easy to just go in and do stuff like this, for example, and just get your topology running, basically. For example, keep working that topology like so. Whoops. Like so. And if you do Alt and drag right here, you clean up all of the straight edges that you have. So you could just go in and get something like this. I'm doing this, like, I'm not even being too precious with this. I'm just showing you guys how I would go about creating something like that. Okay, so this is an issue. I want to maybe just go in, tie this up. Whoops. Something like that. Something like that. You want to keep it all quads because we're doing this for sculpting, not for the final mesh. The final mesh could have triangles because it's game ready asset, so the engine eventually is gonna triangulate anyway. But for sculpting, you want to keep it all quads if you want to use subdivisions. So yeah, just Alt, like this. There's an issue right there. There we go. There we go. Something wrong here. Alright, it's right there. Sometimes ZBrush just wants to annoy me. So yeah, for example, and now what I would have to do is actually just click this, and I have instant like topology right there on top with a different polygroup, all quads. It's fine, okay? I just did this small part because I want to show you guys. So next method is I keep this visible. Let me just, whoops. Yeah, I could just go like this and then just hide this and delete hidden. Go delete hidden and okay. Yeah, okay. So now what I would do is I would actually insert, or I could just use the gizmo and just go like this. Alright. I could just go like this and then just get a polyplane right there. If you want to go the Maya route, which is a lot more like the quad draw tool from Maya, you would have to go with this method because it's really like Maya. I mean, the tool itself. I wouldn't use one tool. I would use like all of them combined, just whatever gets you there faster. So I would go in and use this polyplane as a basis. Let's go and put it right there. Let's put this, this plane right there, like so. And now what I'm gonna use is something that's here in the like box. I already loaded it in the ZBrush. I put it in the startup folder. And what I did, it's called a ZModeler. It's a variation of ZModeler, but it's a ZModeler topology brush. And it's basically ZModeler, but it has all of this actions, the edge actions, polygon actions, and point actions, already tailored towards retopology and topology moving around and snapping into the surface. So now what I have to do right now is just actually split this into a different subtool. So split masked, and now I'm using this polygon. And with the ZModeler topology, this is actually in the lightbox. If you go to brushes, where is it? Yeah, brushes, and you go into ZModeler, it's right there. ZModeler slice and ZModeler topology. So ZModeler topology is actually the same thing, but you can see like in the point actions, it's saying move points and snap to surface. Edge actions, it's extrude, edge loops, snap to surface, and the polygons itself, it's doing nothing. So what I do is I actually go into wireframe mode, or like polyframe mode, and maybe just go into transparency, X-ray, and if I move this, for example, it's snapping to the surface. It works exactly like you would in Maya with the quad draw tool with the live surface on with your high poly mesh. So this is actually pretty awesome if you want to have like total control over your mesh. Again, I would use this interchangeably between all of them. I wouldn't use just one method. I would use like a lot of methods right there. All right, so this is an issue because now that we have ghost on and transparency, I can actually see what I'm doing right there. So what I would need to do is actually just get this mesh to show. So I have something open here in dynamic subdivisions. I could just apply this and then just get 0 subdivisions and get a little bit of thickness, maybe a little more. Whoops, not segments, thickness. Yeah, a little bit of thickness so I can actually see the mesh pulling through. And this is non-destructive. This is not actually applying any thickness. It's just changing stuff. So all right, so I want to have like going right here and then just whoops. And you can see if I extrude the edge, let me just do this outside edge right here real quick, like so. Get this. Oh, I need to change like this glass sort of, this thing I have like on my tablet, which is called like a protective glass. That's, sometimes I have to click like 3 times. This is not ideal. So if I extrude one edge, I can just extrude and it's still snapping to the surface. So you can see like this is a fairly easy way of, and pretty straightforward actually, way of just snapping things to the surface and doing very precise and controlled retopology. So here it is. Just go like this, and like this. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And now if I just extrude this, if I, for example, click Alt and it'll let go of Alt, I could extrude the whole thing. It's like in Maya. In Maya, you would have something like that as well. Different controls, but same purpose. So I could just extrude the whole edge loop right there. Again, maybe like so. And maybe what I want to do now is actually move these points so they snap. They actually snap. If you move them too close, they can stitch together. Not happening right here though. Stitch them together. Yeah, there you go. If I smooth it, you can see that's actually 1 point. So I can stitch these together and just put them on this corner right there, and then just go something like that. I would have no need to do this. I could actually just, instead of extruding the whole thing, just extrude one face like that, and then just move this one in, and then extrude this face same way. If I click it, it's actually doing the same action I did before, so it's repeating the action on that edge loop. If I click, keep clicking, you can see. Or if I extrude this like very far away and I click, it's going to do the same amount of extrusion that I want. So this is pretty useful, right? So if I tweak this in right there just to keep this, I know I shouldn't have triangles like because it's for sculpting, but it's my game art mind going like, okay, so a triangle here would be no problem at all for the final game asset, because it's gonna, like the normals would have, like the shaders would have an issue with this because it's a corner. So it's okay. It's gonna be sort of harsh anyway. Oops. I could just extrude this, and now if I, for example, extrude this like that, you can see it's snapping which is also pretty useful. I want to keep these polygons fairly even, not as, like small polygons and then a very large one right next to it. That's not ideal, especially for sculpting, because you want to keep all the details. Again, it's not necessarily, you don't need to be like this nitpicky with your topology, especially if you're just doing like concept blockout. Really, if you're just looking at if this works or not, I would actually use this original mesh and then just use it to block out the scene and eventually see if it works concept wise and stuff like that. And if it doesn't, then you move on to another asset or whatever. But this is only after I tweaked the shape again, or if I could tweak, like if I want to sculpt it, then I probably have to like go through this whole process. I could also like insert an edge loop, and if I insert an edge loop right there, for example, and then I switch, or I can move this and it's snapping to the surface again. So I could just go like this and then just move this, and it's moving by brush radius. So if I have a very large brush radius, it's going to move a lot of vertices. It's sort of like soft selection in Maya, but you could actually, it's like more, it's a more organic workflow than in Maya, it's like, it's not the same. I can't really explain it why. I used to do everything in Maya, and now only the final like retopology. I would even start the retopology in ZBrush right now and eventually move on to creating the final sort of, because you want to tweak your normals in order for them to shade properly in the engine. So yeah, so this is how you would go about sort of blocking in your retopology manually. Something like that, and going like this. You could also do like the whole loop, which is fairly weird. It's great if you want to do like a tube, for example, and you just want to extrude and then just push it, and it's gonna go fine for a retopology. I don't know, like a gun barrel, something like that. So yeah, so I would again go like this, keep working that mesh again and again. And again, you could use a mix of all of them. I would never start with the Z modeler topology. I would start, however, with either the topology brush or something I'm going to show you next, which is Z-sphere topology. And this is the old school technique. I remember back in the day when I started studying this, the 3D and stuff like that, I remember watching one of Michael Pavlovich's Eat 3D DVDs, in 2011 or something. And I was still very intimidated by ZBrush, so I would procrastinate getting into it. I could say that I've worked in ZBrush for at least like 2-3 years, but I have never worked in ZBrush. I would just do everything in Maya and then just use ZBrush for like using a couple of brushes for detailing edges, and that's it. That's like 0.001% of what ZBrush could actually do. You could do literally anything in ZBrush. Now you could even do cloth simulation in ZBrush, which is crazy, right? But yeah, it's not as precise as something like Marvelous Designer, because that's specific software precisely made for that purpose. But you could do like for like a concept sculpt or something like that, or you want to like a flag concept of something, you could just get a plane and just apply a dynamic simulation, and that's it. Or a cape for a superhero, or some basic clothing. There are so many ways to do things. Even clothing, you could use like snapshot, like Spotlight Snapshot 3D with a couple of clothing patterns drawn in 2D. Just project that and use dynamics to contract the surface and then get like gravity pulling back, and that's it. And you have like the base mesh of a t-shirt. It's that easy. It's like literally 5 minutes. And if there are any students of mine like watching right now, they know that I mean this for real, because I show it in my class. Like 5 minutes, I could get like a basic t-shirt done in ZBrush like that, with topology, clean topology for sculpting, which is exactly what you want, right? You don't want like wonky all over the place like n-gons and stuff like that. So yeah, ZBrush doesn't allow n-gons anyway, so it just creates a hole. So that's great. For retopology, it's perfect, because you don't want to have anything like n-gons. In Maya, you would have to go like mesh cleanup and just get all that process in. All right, so last method, insert Z-sphere. Get a Z-sphere in your scene, and then whatever is visible, it's going to be edited. So if I scale the Z-sphere down, I'm just going to move it out of the way. Just get it inside the mesh. That's what I normally do, but I see Michael Pavlovich is going and putting right there. I don't do that. I just put it inside the mesh, right there. And I use this Z-sphere because Z-spheres, if you guys know how this works, Z-spheres, actually you can create like an armature. Let me just show you. You can sort of go like this, and then you create an armature. This is how I would, for example, create the base of my vines. I would just go in and block out like where do I want sort of the vines to turn, and then convert this and use like polygroups and curves and stuff like that to just create like a tripart polycurve, a curve brush or something like that, to actually just create the whole thing like with a couple of clicks, and then just sculpt the details in. That's what it was. Like in Maya, it would be, you would have to like extrude based on the curve if you want to do like the curve way. And it's just so weird, because Maya is so technical. It's great at that actually, but it becomes very slow as a result, because you could literally just use this, and even if you get wonky geometry, just do zero mesh based on polygroups, because this gives you polygroups. If you just draw, for example, this bone right there, you see that color right there? That color is going to be a polygroup. So if I draw this again, for example, another, you see different color, different polygroup. So it's going to create an edge loop right there if I do a zero mesh, if it for some reason creates wonky geometry. If I click, hey, A, it's going to show me like a preview, because it's dynameshed. I don't want a dynamesh. I want something like this, for example, and that's what I'll get after I sort of apply this adaptive skin. So adaptive skin is actually like a preview of the geometry, the topology that the Z-sphere is generating. So if I want to do retopology with Z-spheres, again, you could do this. This is the old school way. I could just go to topology, edit topology, and now you can see like the Z-sphere is gone like completely like one color, and I could just go to draw and just click, and now I have like a polygon. So I could click here, and you can see I'm creating sort of this wireframe on top of my mesh with complete control over it. Let's just go over this anyway. Just go like that, and just go like that. Whoops, what's going on here? So I messed this up. There's something going on there. Yeah. So if I click there, let me just go and make this like that, and eventually I can project anyway. I can project details right there. So I want to go, this is a polygon by polygon method, sort of like the Z modeler topology, but Z modeler topology actually allows you to extrude the whole edge. So what I usually do with this method, I use this old school method all the time. And what I usually do is I actually create the loops around the mesh, and then I use the Z modeler topology to just extrude things and snap them together and get the whole thing. I'll show you guys. So yeah, let me just get this to draw, so I could draw something like that, for example, like that, and that. You don't want to have n-gons. So if you click A now, you have like a preview of the topology right there. I could just get the density to 1. And you can see like the exact topology I have right now. So yeah, imagine I have something like that, 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 and like this. There we go. So I'm creating sort of around like this shell. I know this is not, you know, taking into consideration like the edge flow. It should. So I could go for something like this and then get something like that, get something like that, and then just delete this in the middle. But I have quads right here, I have quads, so I could just, you know, just get a move and move this. Whoops. No, it's not working. Alright, so if I draw, let me just draw the whole thing. Yeah, I could just alt click to get a different result, to just delete the polygons. You can see it created a triangle there automatically because of this right there. Alright, so if I click here, sorry, I'm vaping. And now I want to, for example, get this right there. So this is Z-Sphere, this is called Z-Sphere retopology. If you search it on Michael Pavlovich's YouTube channel, just go Z-Sphere retopology, a plethora of videos. It's like Michael Pavlovich's YouTube channel should be your documentation, like your ZBrush documentation, like really. Because the guy is a freaking dictionary of ZBrush. He's a walking dictionary of ZBrush. If you study his YouTube channel thoroughly, you could literally become like a cowboy, a ZBrush cowboy, you know? All right, so I have this right here. It doesn't matter, like forget about the edge flow. I just want to show you guys something. All right, so for example, now I want to keep working like on the edges, something like that. Let me just check. Yeah, this needs to get. I constantly click A on my keyboard to check if I have any issues with topology. It should show up. Everything I have drawn here should show up as a polygon. If it doesn't, it means you have like an n-gon. It doesn't allow an n-gon, so it triangulates like automatically. So it's okay. For example, I have this, and now. Let me just go in and do like cleaner sort of version of this topology. Like so. Now imagine I get something like that, like that. Oops. This is not what I'm interested in. No, something like that. And now I can move this right here, and maybe I can delete this and get something like that, and like that, and get this edge flow correctly. This is what I should have done right here, right? Because of the edge flow stuff. Yeah, okay, so this is the correct topology. It just goes, and if I insert an edge loop right here, it goes around the edge and doesn't go like to the side. This one, if I inserted an edge loop, it would go around the whole object, and that's something I don't want to do because I want an edge loop, a clear edge loop right here. So I can even polygroup it later and project and Z-remesh it on the fly using polygroups. So yeah, again, click this, click this, click this, click this. again, if I always check it with A. This is a little denser than this one because honestly it has a lot more detail, so it's okay. And let's get technical. That's a good. I came up with that while I was posting on Instagram today. Let me just move this a little bit. Check if it's actually snapping to the surface. Yeah, here it is. All right, so I could also just go in and click this and click where I want the last edge loop to go, and just click there, this right here, and now I could just boom. The problem is it's not gonna stick to the surface anymore because it's already, whoops, and go like that. Whoops. Just move this to snap to the surface. There we go. Hey, Thingy-chan, thank you for the follow. Thank you, man. Right. So if I move this, it sticks to the surface, even in my adaptive skin mode. But if I move it, if I move it on the adaptive skin mode, it's not gonna move like the Z-sphere topology, because again, remember, this is like a non-destructive workflow. You're not actually creating any topology. You're only creating topology once you sort of make the adaptive skin, and it's going to create a different tool. So it's like, yeah, so again, it's just non-destructive workflows are what you want to, you know, it's where you want to go when it comes to, oh, what the heck? It's where you want to go when it comes to doing like retopology stuff, to doing anything actually, because you wanna be able to tweak it. Again, just check this out. Move, or something like that. You know, you can see what I'm doing right here. I'm just going in and just going in and creating these loops around. And eventually, again, I'm gonna be, if it's demo time, basically, I need to be a little faster. But again, this is a somewhat tedious process. I just enjoy it a lot. I enjoy doing retopology, which is something a lot of people told me I'm crazy because of that. But I actually enjoy doing retopology. I honestly do. I think it's something that's related to your temperament. Actually, there's a lot of people that are more leaning towards technical stuff. There are people that are not, and I am one of those people that are leaning towards sort of going in. Let me just at least keep the silhouette unchecked. Alright. Fine and dandy right here. I could move this, snap this. Oh no, I can't. I could do it in Z-Modeler. Okay, so for example, imagine like this is done. I want to make adaptive skin. So if I preview, this is what I'm gonna get, and I could, you know, get transparency off and just click K to get solo mode. So this is the topology I'm gonna generate. And if I go and make adaptive skin, it's gonna create a new loop. But the Z-sphere is still there, like in the subtools, it's still there. This is a Z-sphere. I could actually name it Z-sphere Retopo. Right. I always keep things organized name-wise. This is not, because this is gonna disappear anyway. So this I could even delete. This is not doing here or anything. Okay, yeah. So here it is, our Z-sphere retopology, and now it's created an adaptive skin. So here it is, like skin Z-sphere. If I go in and just insert that skin Z-sphere, it's gonna have my topology right there. And again, this is real topology now. I could literally just go in and sculpt. It's not doing anything because of the low poly nature of this, but I could actually just sculpt in. You can see it's sculpting. All right, but I don't want to do that, right? I just want to go back to the way things were. And now I could go into ZModeler topology, BZT, for ZModeler topology, and then just go in, just hide the Z-sphere thing, and then just go in and maybe get transparency on, and maybe get the dynamic subdivisions right here. Zero smooth subdivision, get a little bit of thickness, maybe a little more. And the offset's gonna be outside because I wanna see the topology. All right, and now with the Z-sphere, the Z-modeler topology, I could just extrude this in and keep pushing the verts so it snaps to the surface. It's that easy, man. Again, and I could tweak the thing I did with the other method if it's something that it's not working. For example, let me just change something here. Where is it? No creasing. Why is it creasing? Let's see. Look at divisions. Yeah, creasing right there. Why? Weird. Doesn't. Whatever. All right. So I want to keep this fairly even. Doesn't really need to be that precious because again I am gonna go and just smooth this out and maybe move this to snap it. I am gonna go and sculpt on top, so not a big deal. Again, I could just go in, insert edge loop, and this doesn't really concern me anymore. So I could just go in and extrude. Extrude again. You see there's a little triangle forming there. I don't want that many triangles. It's gonna be inevitable. If I'm converging all of this here, I might as well just plan out a few triangles, or I could just go in, extrude, and just extrude one single thing, like so, like that. Whoops. Just snap all these verts. Yeah. Oh, right. Love this song. All right, so we can extrude this, get it here. Again, another thing I didn't do is like keep the polygons like straight. I mean, the same amount of polygons on one side than the other. There we go. But I could do that afterwards, so I could go in and do insert edge loop and just insert a single edge loop right there. And now I could move these points closer together. There it is. You can see how fast it is to actually get Thingy-chan. Oh, it's too loud? All right. Thank you, man. How about now? Is it okay? Is it better? Yeah, I had the chat open. I wasn't looking. I had the Spotify on top, so I could check the music's name. But yeah. Yeah, well, not online. I mean, I'm like an on-site teacher. I teach at a university and a technical school. Game art and 3D modeling and texturing for games. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I've been thinking about that. It's like one of my projects that's like on the side that I'm thinking about, like getting an online school up and running. But honestly, I feel like I'm not good enough for that, you know? recording a video? No, not at all. I'm streaming. I'm not recording a video. It's way better if you want it. It could be a bit higher too, but yeah, it works. All right, so how about, let me check. How about now? Is it okay? 1 2 1 2 check. Mic check. What do you mean, like teaching? I mean teaching, like doing both, like teaching online and on site, or? Yeah, thanks. But what do you mean? Like, do you mean like doing both, like teaching both online and on site, or do you mean we're talking about the sound or something? I didn't really get that. Oh, yeah. I see. Well, Twitch actually stores a VOD, and the YouTube channel actually keeps the videos saved forever if I want to. So I have no need for that. But yeah, I could do that. Yeah, sometimes I do that, but I don't want to like overload my computer with that. It's not a weak machine, but you know, doing like polygroup it and stuff like that, like here, this actually takes its toll on your graphics card. So if you're recording, streaming and stuff like that, like your GPU could get like overloaded. And I have like 3 monitors, so it's, yeah. Yeah. Whoa, what the heck happened? Oh, okay, yeah. Well, every time Zbrush does autosave, I sort of skip a breath because, you know, crashing is real. Sometimes, not all the time, but crashing is real. So yeah, this is the other way of mixing and matching both. Mixing and matching both both methods of retopology. So I could go and keep at it until I'm like satisfied with this. Again, our first approach to this would be ideal for sculpting, just blocking out, because I don't want to take too long again. I want to be as fast as I can on this, and just because we're just concept sculpting. We're sculpting basically, so it doesn't really matter. Whoops. Yeah, this thickness is not ideal right now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. It is a pain. Sometimes you're doing like, well, at least ZBrush allows you to get like a cool, like a fairly, you know, a not ancient autosave that you've made. Maya is a whole different thing. Like when Maya crashes, I feel like I want to kill myself, because Maya, sometimes it doesn't like save anything, you know, which could be a pain. So yeah, Maya crashing is a lot worse than. How comfortable are you to answer a question about one of your previous workplaces, considering you streaming that be online forever? Well, it depends. It depends. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, places that I worked before. I usually don't talk a lot about like in-house things that happened to me, you know, good or otherwise. If you know, I speak broadly, so I could answer like a few questions. Yeah, sure. Whatever I want, I feel like I shouldn't talk about it, I just won't. So just try me. Just shoot your question. It's okay. Where were you referring to? Like which workplace? You mean a studio or school? Oh shit, what's going on right here? Weird topology. Just get this a little spread out. Try me. Yeah, sometimes this happens if you accidentally click on the extrude. Ugh, this is a pain. Turn off dynamic for a while. Let me just... Yeah, there we go. Just grab this point, snap it there, and then just smooth it out. Right, this doesn't actually matter because, you know, as long as they're a little spread out, I could always project later. So all right, so actually, let's maybe not. I noticed you worked at Big Moon a while ago, and I knew a dude who heard some stories, so I was curious. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Anywho, I'll stop snooping them art stations. All right, cool. Well, you could ask. I don't know. It's like, could ask. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, but if you're looking for me to trash talk a company live, that's not gonna happen, man. Literally, that's not gonna happen. I had good experiences and bad experiences, just like, you know, anywhere you work at, you have good experiences. Sometimes it's not the company, sometimes it's the people, sometimes it's not the people, sometimes it's the whole sort of hierarchy system. Sometimes, you know, a lot of things have come out about like big companies that are supposed to be like the best ever, and you know, they're a little shady. But I wasn't there, so I couldn't actually tell. I believe what people tell me, but to some extent, you know, if it's like a lot of people telling me the same thing, yeah, I do sort of, you know, it's more likely that you believe. Oh yeah, well, you know, it wasn't a bad experience. I worked there, and it was great. It was actually one of the, in terms, like technically, it was one of the most, the greatest experience, because it was so, I had a lot of pressure because of deadlines and stuff like that, and it was actually my first experience working in a video game, like a real AAA game, and it was great in that sense. I learned a lot. I mean, like, I would say I became proficient in Maya working there, and that was it, you know. I became proficient in Maya working in a professional environment, because that's the thing. If you force yourself to do, whoa, the heck thing right here. So what we have right here. Yeah, so yeah, so yeah, no, not trash talking at all. It doesn't. Well, actually, Big Moon is not called anymore. It's not Big Moon anymore. It's called Saber now. It's been bought by Saber. So it's not even the same company technically. It's a different company. I'm not from that era. I worked there before it became like Saber Interactive. Well, what's going on right here? Why is it not snapping? It should snap. There we go. Be right there, right there. Let's insert another edge loop right here because of the density stuff. Oops. Again, mix and match both methods. And just snap the verts together. Snap them here. There we go. All right, so you can see where I'm going with this. No point in just keep going, whatever. Here it's just a matter of going in. Again, for our purposes, it should be a little less tedious, like because you really want to just sculpt. But is this just showing that there's a lot of possibilities, like in ZBrush, to do retopology? You don't need to go like to go to other software and stuff like that. That the same core team was around, like the top bosses or whatever. Well, I'm not really sure. I know a few people that still work there on production and stuff like that, but I think they're more producers and stuff like that, you know, like producers and maybe lead programmers, maybe a couple of them, but I don't really know, like, because again, like most of my friends that work there don't work there anymore, you know, and I haven't worked there in a while, so like most of the people I know, some of them went to other companies here in Portugal, but most of them, like not most of them, but some of them actually went abroad, like not in Portugal at all, so they went to like, you know, the UK or Spain and stuff like that for other studios. So again, I don't know what it's like things change like a lot, you know, in 5-6 years or something, you know, let alone 8, which is like how long I haven't worked there. So, you know, I don't know. It's like my experience was not bad at all. Not at all. I worked on a couple of projects with them. One of them was the WRC, or you know, the rally championship game, the World Rally Championship, and that was awesome. It was very, very hardcore because at the time I had studied in a like 2-year course, like a professional course, and that was it. Like my skills were very limited to like the UDK back then, like Unreal Engine 3 and Maya, and that was it. Photoshop. There was no substance at the time. ZBrush for me was still a little alien at the time. And I learned like a lot about shaders, about rigging, about optimizing like LODs, stuff like that, like the technical things. That's what I learned because that's what I did at that company. I was more of a sort of a cleanup artist. I cleaned up like the models like I'm doing right here, but you know, like very complex models, not some like a rock. You know, I was cleaning up like the cars and it still had to work with the rig, stuff like that, you know, and cleaning up the environment assets, like the shader systems that were brought by, you know, because they had their like the original like company had you know, it was an Italian company, Milestone, I think, I don't remember. They actually sent over like the technical description of the shaders and stuff like that, so we had to like convert our UDK shaders to like be the same as them, so it will work with the pipeline. So yeah, there was a lot of technicalities while I was there, so I learned a bunch of technical stuff. And again, I'm a very technical person. At the time I didn't realize that, but maybe that's where I flourish, you know, like doing technical stuff, you know. And so yeah, like my experience was not that bad, you know. Like personal experience, I mean, you know. And I heard a lot of people, like, you know, having bad experiences there, and a lot of people having good experiences. So I don't know, man. It's really like I could speak for cases that have been close to me. What I mean by that is like if I've worked there in like the last couple of years or the last year or something, and I got out and I could speak about it, then yeah, speak about it, because I have like, you know, some recent exposure to that environment. But I haven't been involved with Saber for like, I don't know, 7 years or something. So I couldn't even, a lot of things changed like in 7 years. So I couldn't really, I'm sorry if that's not like the answer you're looking for. So yeah, this is what I would do like for manual retopology. But again, let's just go ahead and move on, because I don't want to bore you guys to death with technical stuff. I would keep doing that the whole night. For me, that would be awesome. But I don't want that. I want to just a simple like remesh thing. So let me just go in. I have like my hotkeys, so I don't even need any of this. I could just go full screen on this baby. Just go like this. Yeah, I could maybe not yet. Maybe I want to duplicate it first. Just duplicate it so I preserve this. Delete. There we go. And now I could do a Z-remesher on this. There we go. Z-remesher, detect edges. Adapt the size, maybe. Same, yeah, let's go. Yeah, so this result was not, it's not as bad, you know. It gives you a little, you know, this is like my technical brain just going, oh, the edge loop, the edge flow, it's not happening, you know. But it really doesn't matter. We're just sculpting. So yeah, so I have this and I have this, and now I could just do a very quick like project just to make sure that it's fitting the surface, and there it is. And now what I could do is I actually could divide this. Just go here to geometry and then just divide and project. Again, project and divide and project and divide and project. And then just check if your poly count is okay. Okay, 600,000 is amazing for, you know, big shape concepting. You can see it's starting to retain like the triangulated faces of the other subtool, you know, this versus this. You can see like it's keeping that shape, but we don't want that. We want to smooth these out and select our own sculpted pieces. Again, I want to see this in context. I don't want to go in and just go, ooh, crazy, let me change the silhouette of this. I want to boulder like that, and suddenly it's Lion King, you know. It's okay, maybe I will. I actually like that. But, you know, I don't want to be too hasty, because, again, I'm doing concepting at the same time that I am, you know, working on the blockouts and stuff like that. So I want to go in and actually look at the whole thing, you know, as a whole. And I want to keep it a little simpler. So first of all, I'm gonna have to import this to the high poly, right Yeah, let me just hide the sword. I don't need the sword. It's a little lighter. Yeah, a little lighter. Now my computer is like burning up already. Like 50 million polygons plus a whole bunch of tools plus a whole bunch of subtools plus array mesh plus dynamic subdivisions plus real subdivisions plus dynamesh plus Sculptris Pro. This is gonna take its toll on any CPU, especially your RAM. Your RAM is gonna feel that for sure, especially the polygon count for sure. Yeah. All right, so now what I want to do is let me just check the base. All right, column 2, brazier. I did the brazier using a fairly simple workflow with Z-spheres, polygroup loops, and then just curve brushes. You know, framing the polygroup borders with the brushes with the curve brush. All right, so I want to append or insert next to this, insert, and I'm gonna insert this mesh right here. You can see this is my retopologized mesh, and it's keeping a fair amount of detail, which is something I don't want because I want to sculpt this off. But I might want to reuse this detail. So I could use it for like that piece right there. Like something like that. Okay. And just go and place it in. Something like that, yeah. Also, what you could do is actually, if you could look at this topology right here, you have a lot of options. You could just go in and just put your gizmo right there, and then just, you know, extend it. Use an extender, like extender. Oh, has subdivision levels. Ooh, bummer. Yeah, maybe I should have imported the non-worked geometry. Yeah. Let's just delete this. Get back to our little thing. Go here. And now import this one. You know, the triangulated mesh. Like that. Let's just insert. Insert something like this. There we go. There you are, baby. And now, put it right there. Right there. Just rotate it like so. And now I could remesh it, you know. Again, I'm using this for like blockout purposes, so anyway, I could just remesh this. Let's remesh it real quick. Doesn't really matter. Geometry. Oh, my brain went nuts right now. Yeah, detect edges, target, poly count, just go same. Adaptive size maybe a little lower. See, remesh it. Oh, I want to project. Sorry, forgot about that. Duplicate. Now I want to Z-remesh it. And now let me just check this. Yeah, I want to project. But I want to project just both those subtools. So I want to shift click right here, and now project. And now go Control D, project, Control D, project, and maybe another Control D, project. And that's it. I don't need this anymore, but I'm gonna keep it right there. And I wanna just unhide everything. You can see like I have a whole bunch of different things happening right here. I'm not really sure about this yet, so I'm probably gonna keep it right there. This is the same, I use the same method as this one. I project a few details and I, you know, covered like the bottom and stuff like that because it was a landscape asset. So again, this is 136 polygons, which is fairly low, but it's exactly what I want for like very quickly just trim dynamic and just flatten out a few areas here and there, just like so. Maybe I want to keep these facets right here, so I want to maybe be careful with those, but just go in and just flatten whatever you want to flatten. Using trim dynamic, I'm making sure it's not overly smooth, because if I go smooth brush, it's gonna give me like a very smooth surface. I don't want that because it's still a rocky surface, so I'm gonna go trim dynamic with a lower Z intensity and then just locking out these shapes right here. This is a little weird. I didn't actually want that, but it doesn't really matter. Something like this. Like this. Alright, just those triangulated faces you want to just get rid of, you know, because you don't want it to look like a PlayStation 1 era asset unless you want to. That's a different story, but then again, you wouldn't be sculpting if you wanted to. You would just do it off the bat, you know. You can see like my free memory right there. I still have 6 gigs of RAM left to work with, and I know I'm gonna need like at least 3 or 4 for a lot of the stuff I plan on doing right here, because I still plan on dividing this, dividing that. So I might need to be a little smarter. Hey, thank you, Fanon. I didn't even know you were here. Like, what the heck? Thank you, man. Have a good one. Right, so again, this one right here. Is it? No, this one. I'm gonna hide this one actually and just go with this one. This one can actually serve as my blockout piece. I don't really care for this one either. This is that cylinder right there, that cylinder right there. These are like crystals. Planning on having these like UV'd and retopologized on the side, and then eventually I was gonna support you sometimes. Ha! Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, this I'm gonna do completely different shaders, and I'm still pondering on using Unreal Engine for this in order to create some cool visual effects using Niagara, which might be well, because it's weird if it's just like, yeah, there are a couple of braziers there, but there's no fire. There are crystals there, but there's no glow. There's no like animation, you know, effects and stuff like that. So it's like, maybe I'm gonna take it to Unreal Engine and just create like a complex like shader system for this. Right, so if I want to do like an extender, like let me just duplicate this one again. You can see like the polygon just keeps building, and now I want to just go in and go like this and maybe extend this. Okay. Extender. Okay, has subdivision level, so I might, you know, maybe go to a lower subdivision level, something like that. That's okay. And then just delete higher. And now I want to use the extender. Please let me use the extender. Damn you, Zbrush. Extender. There we go. There we go. and I can extend this surface, and I can taper this surface. Oh, where's the taper? Inflate, apply creasing. Oh, there's no taper. Oh, there it is. The size, and I could easily just block it, and I could choose where this extender is going to affect like the surface. So I could just, you know, forget about the taper right there. Forget about the taper, just keep it at 1, size 1, which is no taper, because it's ×1 basically. And now I want to go in and put this like right before it starts to be on the other surface right there. And now maybe a little bit of taper, just a little bit, a tiny little bit. And then I can apply a few edge loops right there, so I don't have like this weird thing going on where there's no edge loops right there, so I can sculpt something. And I want to keep at least a tiny bit of and maybe I'll take off the creasing, apply creasing. No. Again, the more I add onto this, you can see like the poly count there, right? Just shooting, skyrocketing. Not shooting a lot, you know, but I am going to divide this eventually, so you don't want to be too crazy. Okay, so here it is. And now I can actually use the polygroups for another ZRemesh. So again, let's go to solo mode and now remesh this using keep groups, ZRemesher, and bam! There we go. Bam! There we go. And there it is. 3 different polygroups, clean edges, clean topology, and a very sustainable sort of lockout. I could just easily sculpt this right here. Just get a few like details right there, for example, for like this rock. And I could remesh it later anyway, which is great. ZRemesher for me is not an end means to create geometry, to remesh geometry. I mean, it's great, but for me it's like a tool. It's a tool. It's nothing more than a tool. It's not, you know. I could just go in, just do trim dynamic, just think about like how these rocks would go in. And there we go. If you're thinking about like how would you sculpt this from scratch, you could still do it. Again, I did that with those previous polygroups things that I have right there. Smooth and put trim dynamics right there. Trim dynamic right there. Maybe stylize this a little bit. Again, ZRemesh again if I want to. See? Ba-bam! Instant clean topology, and that's what I use ZRemesher for, nothing else. I just use it to keep my topology clean without, you know, relying too much on like Dynamesh. Dynamesh just gives you wanky geometry for subdivisions, because I want to keep this subdividable so I don't go too crazy with the poly count. I feel like most of these points are like the sword, the Dynamesh version of the sword, and the high poly version, and I don't want to push it too far. Yeah. Again, I could also use a few orb brushes that I have right here, like Brax, for example. Just keep this crack right there, like, so it doesn't feel unnatural in a sense. This again, something like this. Now I could again, so it doesn't feel go Z-remesh again. And it's fairly easy and quick, just the Z-remesh part. Still, it's low poly and it's creating an edge right there, so it's very faceted. But I don't really care at this point, because all I want is to have, let's go and divide this, maybe no smooth divisions and then smooth divisions, so I can actually just start to get a feel of the shape and the forms that I want. Just go a little nuts with the trim dynamic, and then use maybe flatten edge is better for this. Flatten edge gives you these very stylized flattened look to it's like a trim dynamic, but it's cleaner. I don't know what it does under the hood, really. These are Michael Vincente's like brushes. He's a Blizzard artist that works, I think, on Heroes of the Storm, and he has these brushes on his Gumroad. You should check him out. Just Google search Michael Vicente or orb brushes on Google, and eventually it will give you like his Gumroad. So yeah, I would definitely check that out. You could also use, like, for example, BS or slash. Where's slash 3? And slash 3 gives you like a clean yet very roundish cut, but you could to just get an easy cut right there, for example, and just divide these rocks, something like that, for example, and just push the environment one step further in terms of its, you know, chunkiness, and just go in with orb cracks as well. Just go like that. Give a few cracks right there. I would use the orb cracks because this is a little weird. I'm not even using the interface anymore, so who cares about this? Flatten edge, flatten edge, flatten edge, flatten edge. Again, I don't want these facets to come through on my final sculpt, so I'm gonna go through the entire mesh, even if it is just to smooth it out. Flatten edge. And again, I could just go in crazy with a flatten edge, or I could just fairly easy just use one of these stamps right there. There's one called Rock Detail, and just go in like so, and maybe do a subtractive one like that, for example. And now use a flatten edge, just go in very lightly, just create some interesting patterns and stuff, and then just go in and start sculpting off this. So this is just, you know, sculpting, so no big deal. And now just go in with the cracks. Again, this is, you could push it. You can see it's stretching the polygons, but if you're using Z-remesh to keep it clean, it's okay. You could just use the clay buildup, BCB, just get a few shapes right there. something like that. Get, for example, a rock right there. Now get the flatten edge again. Or I could use Sculptures Pro with this actually. I could just sculpt it and then retopologize and project the details. Again, it's up to you. What I did with the other ones were I actually just Dynameshed and sculpted the Dynamesh version, and then did the Z-Remesh and projected all the details into the subdivision levels to get a cleaner, so subdivided version. Again, and this is only a matter of, you know, getting all of this detail in. I could use like the lazy snap with a little bit of lazy radius and just go in, for example. And now I can change the view and it snaps. It should snap. A rock there. Again, it's all a matter of just going in for the kill, in a sense, and just get a few cracks here and there. Just so it feels like a rock and not some sort of weird. Use the pinch. Bring those closer. Not really comfortable with this little cut right there, so I might just go in with the trim dynamic and just flatten or sort of move this cut just to, you know, smooth it out, and trim dynamic around, maybe with a larger brush, just go in around that. It doesn't feel as weird. I could also use like the move brush, just move a few pieces, or use the move infinite brush, which is BMN, you know, and then just move the whole thing so it looks a little flatter right there. Something like that, right? So now you can see like this has nothing to do with what we started off. You can see right there, nothing at all, but I used it as sort of like a base mesh, which is great. And if you know your topology tools, you don't need to worry like, oh my god, this topology is gonna give me like nightmares later, because there are so many different tools in ZBrush to actually just carry out doing the retopology, and even fairly quick retopology tools. Again, because most people think, oh my god, retopology. It's like, it's no big deal, really. It's just a matter of getting used to the tools and using them to your own again, you know, career-wise, I was talking about in the beginning of the stream, I am thinking about getting into a master's degree, and that eventually entails a full-time master's degree at Escape Studios, and that entails like at least 8 hours a day of work. And I'm also thinking about doing or subscribing to Paul Gabriel's mentorship, which is a lifetime mentorship that has just gone online today. It's called the Sculpt Corner. Definitely check that out. I mean, most of the stuff I know in ZBrush, I was taught by Paul Gabriel himself. So yeah, he's good. He's good. Trust me. This is weird. Let me just... Yeah, but again, it's gonna be a little hard for me to keep working on these. I want to finish this piece so I could at least put it in my portfolio before I enroll at Escape Studios, because it's primarily an environment art focused program, because it's game art, and they're gonna teach Unreal Engine, and my teacher is gonna be guys from Epic Games and stuff like that, which is great, because that's what I want. I want to be surrounded by people that are actually better than me and actually, you know, stimulate me to move forward. And that's what I want. And the best place you have to do that is to pick like the right school, even if it takes a few years to save up money for that school. I would go that route. I would definitely save up that money, because that's what I did. Honestly, this is not looking right. Just smooth it out, just cut it again, and then brush, trim dynamic. Let's trim this a little bit. It's still a little faceted right there. I could maybe move this out of the way a little bit, like so. And maybe move this out as well. Move this in, this in, move this in, move this out, move this out. And now I could go in with a clay buildup and just work this. Again, this is just ideation. Basically, this is not technical stuff, not at all. This is ideation. But again, it's aided by a good technical understanding of how I would go about remeshing this if I wanted, manually and procedurally. Like, there are procedural ways to retopologize the meshes in ZBrush, but sometimes doesn't give you the control you need for that specific type of asset. So yeah, I'm gonna go, sometimes I need to go like manual, and that would be how you do it. Looking in trim dynamic right there. Pinch brush, pinch these closer. I could just paint a mask right there. If I want to sort of pseudo extrude this, I could just go in, paint a little mask. Like so, invert this, and then go to town. whoops, get this mask fairly even. You could use mask curve brushes. The mask curve brush is actually awesome. But I could just go in fairly easy and then just snap this here and boom. Now I could just remesh it again. Am I losing detail? Let's check. I have adaptive size turned on, so it means that it's gonna check for like detail and stuff like that, or places that was sculpted. Yeah, it did a fairly good job. Fairly good job, yeah. Alright, so smoothing this out. Now, frame dynamic again. Sculpting rocks, man. It's like it's a meditation process. Sculpt rocks, sculpt your life away. Just sculpting rocks. Again, this is like 135. Maybe I want to subdivide this and delete lower, and now I want to retopologize with the same from now on. Just retopologize using this same geometry, which means I'm gonna get a much higher poly count, which means I could go a little crazier in detail. So yeah. Again, but this is I don't know. I'm not really happy with this, but it's good enough for me to get an idea of what I can do. Like so. I want to put it in an environment. Or if I want to keep this, for example, if I want to use this as a sort of a base to block it out, I could just divide it without any, whoops. Let me just delete hidden. I don't need that anymore. Divide without like a flat division. Up until I get like maybe 18,000, maybe more, 74. Ooh, maybe that's too much. So I get a fair amount of polygons, and I could easily just go back to our base and then go to brush with my move brush and go auto masking, mask by polygroups, or use the move topological brush. MT, I think that's it. Yeah, move topological brush. And if I click this, it's only gonna change that. And for this, I wanna really check like a silhouette. I wanna move this in and maybe go D and get this shape right there. Shift D. Yeah, there it is. And this is if I want to sort of continue, like have two assets for the rocks, which would be ideal for something like this, because that's my issue right now, because this is too big of a block for me to actually just pull out like individual rocks. Sometimes it's not the best workflow. Maybe I want to hide this. Where is it? It's right there. Too many polygroup, too many subtools without the correct sort of naming conventions. So naming conventions is everything. All right, so now I'm using the move topological. Maybe I just should move the whole thing. Do something like that. So this is actually better than whatever I had sculpted there. So I could, in this case, use the move topological just to get something right there. See, for example, I used a lot of like this couple of stairs were Megascan stairs. I could show you like I used which one? Oof, granite was it this one? Nope, not this one. Tree stump, no. I'm searching for stone castle. Nope, this was the pillar. Castle stairs, maybe? Nope, not castle stairs. Yeah, I can't find it. There's a naming convention thing. Yeah, I use this stone castle. Yeah, stone castle alpha 3D, which is this asset. See that? This is what I brought in from Megascans, and then this is the end result. And this was literally like an hour of sculpting, even less than that. I would say this is like half an hour, and I already got this base sculpt. Wow, this music is weird. It sounded like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like the beginning, Jesus, wow, threw me back a little. But yeah, so I want this rocky environment around. This is still in the block out phase, which is where I want it. And I might just extract this piece right there and then just close holes and put it right there. I could also do that. I could also just get this, for example. Let's isolate this. Imagine all I wanted was this piece right here. I could paint like a mask right there. Fairly easy. Just paint a mask. Paint a mask right there. Maybe this as well. For example. Something like that. Doesn't need to be perfect, but you know, get the point. Yeah, and then I could go here, maybe duplicate this asset beforehand so it doesn't get screwed up. Extract, and then go T border, thin border, exactly. No double-sided surface, I don't want that. I want 0 thickness. And I want a smooth, not smooth, extract. Extract. Yeah, I have that surface right there. Maybe I want this to be a little bit smoother, maybe. I could just go the old school route, you know, like extract surfaces and then reuse them. But yeah, maybe accept. So I have a new subtool with that on. And now I could, where is it? I could just project. It's gonna take a while. Yeah. It's projecting, so I have this right here. And now I could mask borders. Project again. I could go to masking. Where's the mask? Oh, Jesus. Masking. Mask border. Mask by feature. And now I have the mask on the border, and just that border could allow me to get something like so. just go like this, and then maybe just do one single group like so, and then just close holes, and now I have like this topology, Control W, and then just do a Z-remesher with the same topology, detect edges, adaptive size, same Z-remesher. This is just in order for me to not get like wanky geometry while I'm sculpting, because I want something that I don't want holes anywhere for my high poly. Like, here we go. Maybe this is a little too. Oh, maybe I'm gonna Z-remesh by half Z-remesher. Maybe do a couple more. So yeah, you can see like cleaner topology, you know, 12,000, that's okay. Again, this is all just my high poly sculpt, so I don't really need to keep like a low poly. Even if I want to do like the final retopology in ZBrush, I do it at the end, and I would do it like a different subtool per mesh that I want on my final model. For example, if it's a character, I have like armor pieces that are separate, that are like different objects that are on top of the character. I might do them as separate meshes, so that means a different subtool. When I export that to Maya, it's going to give me different objects in Maya. Each subtool is going to be an object, and that's exactly what I want. So right now I have this, I can easily just project this. Go in here to project. There we go. Okay, wanky geometry. Doesn't really matter. All I want is this right here. Doesn't really matter because all it matters is like what I see. And also we have a new brush in ZBrush, which is awesome. It's called a knife brush, and the knife brush can actually allow me to go in. Let's go Control Shift and go to knife curve brush. That's it, and then just go in and just wow. There we go. Whoops, other way around. Sorry. And now we have clean topology cut in with a polygroup, which means, yes, you guessed it, I could polish by groups, or I could Z-remesh and keep groups, like so. Keep groups, Z-remesher, same topology, and bam, there we go. Wow. Weird topology right there. Why did that happen? Doesn't really matter, because I can still go over here and project. Still gonna give me like crazy geometry. Doesn't really matter. Again, Control D and project again. Control D. Project again. This is not gonna be like an exact copy, so it doesn't really need to be like super. I don't need to be super anal about this. There we go. Whoa, wanky geometry. This is like nightmare for me. I hate bad geometry. It's like the worst thing I could ever see. I hate this. Oh, so much. Does it really matter? I already have like the base that I could sculpt. I could still use like the knife curve brush. Just go in like so and do like something like that. Subdivision levels. Geometry, delete lower. There we go. And then go like this. Clean geometry right there, kids. Ooh, not so because of this. Let's get the select rect tool. All right. Now I want to clean this up. Let's go to knife curve brush. Cut it. Cut it. Whoops. Cut it. And yeah, something like that. And cut a few more of these pieces. Like so. Smooth this out. Could cut this real, like really cut this geometry like so. So you can easily also just go in and create fairly quick rocks with polygroups with clean topology. You could just go in and polish by features and that's it, and you have like your clean geometry. There we go. This is already great for me. I don't really need anything else. It still has a lot of geometry here that I can just smooth it out and just go in brush trim dynamic and just start sculpting right off the bat, which is like crazy. This is the new like knife curve brush. For me, this was like game changer. Once I saw that stream with Michael Pavlovich and Paul Gaboury announcing these tools for the new release of ZBrush. Oh, and by the way, there's a new release of ZBrush. This 2022 coming up because I saw the announcement, and there's a stream, a special stream on Pixelogic's Twitch channel. You should check it out because it's gonna be awesome. They're gonna announce the new features for ZBrush 2022. It's gonna be Paul Gaboury first, and the 17th November, and then I think it's gonna be a group stream with a lot of artists, a lot of people from Pixelogic that are gonna stream and show the new features, and I'm super excited for this. That's another good thing about having a ZBrush license, is that you get free updates. Even if it is like a new version of ZBrush, you get it free. Like we've been getting for free all of those updates from forever. You know, like Pixelogic never charged for an update ever to anyone, to any company. I don't even know how they make money. Like literally, how the fuck do they make money? Like they don't, do they? Like events, maybe sponsorships? I would have to ask Paul, but again, it's something that who cares really? Like, well, they care of course because it's money and it's their company, but from the user perspective, this is like absolutely awesome. I would say like ZBrush is the most consumer friendly software that I've dealt with ever. I'm not even kidding. So you can see like I have a fairly copycat version of that, and I could just as easily, just without local symmetry turned on, just go and mirror, and then just, whoops, not this kind of mirror in the x-axis, and then just go in mirror. Why is it not working? Let me just go in and put this pivot right there and mirror. No. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be the Z, because I started modeling like the weapon, and the weapon was like facing the front, like the blade would be facing the front, And then I decided to put an environment, and so the environment is literally like I'm looking at it from the side. So I could just go in with the mirror and just change from X to Z. And then mirror. And there it is. And now I have the mesh right there. And I could use this for whatever, right? You could use this for blocking in. I could copy this, just go in and just copy this out, and then maybe mirror this locally. I mean, locally. And maybe on the x-axis. Mirror. So it's like from a different angle. Is it? Yeah, it is. It's different. And then I could just, you know, maybe a little tweak right there. Just use these to sort of block out your scene. Like on this side, I'm gonna do that, and maybe I'm gonna go in and just go like so. Maybe create another extender thing. You know, that awesome stuff that we did. You know, then just go in like so. Like so, like so. There we go. Go with the flow. And then I could also just resculpt this. Just go in, smooth this out. Maybe this shape is okay. Again, ZBrush is supposed to be a tool for artists. And so a lot of people that come, like me, from other DCC software like Maya and 3ds Max and whatever, might feel a little weird going into ZBrush, and it's totally understandable. But again, you would have to trust me on this one and just... Whoops. Just go in. You'd have to trust me on this one. It's like... It's like a super intuitive software. Oh, where? Here. Switch the mask. There we go. And then just put it right there. Maybe tweak it a little bit. And then I could just go in with the, you know, standard, typical ZBrush user thing. Just use the move brush. Whoop. Use the move brush. Why is it not working? Move and hit that. Something like that. And now I could do a Z remesh, maybe half the geometry. It's getting a little high, almost 60 million polygons. I would have to say, like, my Gundam that's on ArtStation, if you check it out, my Gundam is, I think, around 90 million to 100 million polygons, like the high poly version. Then I sort of optimized it. I didn't optimize it, I have to be honest. It's a keyshot render. So I just used the decimated version, as long as it doesn't sacrifice my poly painting. Because I used poly painting to paint like ID maps to bring in a key shot and then assign specific materials for each ID, and then just tweak the materials individually. Tweak the lights, tweak the HDRI, tweak a lot of render settings and stuff like that, and just get like a realism type of render. That was what I was aiming for. Again, I might do like the decimation workflow right here. Is it gonna crash? Maybe it's gonna crash. See that right there? Oh, right there. Oh, that Gundam right there is on my ArtStation. I did a render for that for Paul Gabriel's class. Shit, I think ZBrush crashed. It had to happen, guys. It had to happen. At least once it had to happen. Yeah, I think it's crashing. Theory Mesh is not doing what it's supposed to. I aborted it because, yeah. Smooth groups, I'm gonna do it by 0, and maybe adaptive size, I'm gonna lower it a little bit, and now I can theory mesh and hope it doesn't crash. And it hasn't autosaved in a while, which is weird. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I don't know. I enjoyed technical stuff, so for me this is like cool. I don't know if it's ideal for Twitch. Maybe a lot of you guys just don't enjoy that as much as I do. Maybe a lot of you guys just enjoy watching sculpture. Maybe that's it. And maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll do another stream, maybe anatomy sculpting. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe just sculpt the environment, you know, not necessarily do the technical stuff. But the thing is, in ZBrush, you do what you know what to do. This is speaking well, yeah, maybe it's because of the polygroup. Actually, I don't need the polygroups. Why would I even need the polygroups? Don't keep groups. It's the polygroups for sure. Having issues because there's a lot of different tiny polygroups in between because of the knife brush. I should have done like a polish by groups, just a slight polish by groups. Again, maybe I'll keep going with this on the next stream. And I hope we can bring this by the end of the month. I hope to have this like finished, at least textured, you know. And by December, I mean to start rendering this, and then bring it to ArtStation. Again, this is going in on my application for scholarship, and it's a big scholarship. It's like half of the tuition, which is a lot. Also, let me know, how do you feel about me doing like gaming streaming again? I don't know. I feel like lately I haven't been doing a lot of gaming. I've been doing a lot of 3D, a lot of it. I mean, hardcore, a lot of it. I do like 10 hours of 3D a day at least. This is way too long. What the heck's going on here? Let me this depth of size. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about like doing more non-3D related stuff. I feel like lately I just been so into 3D. I mean, everything I do, like from when I wake up until like when I go to bed, is like my mind is always going like, how would I model this? How would I texture that? How would I bake this? How would I, like, what is the best way to sort of retopologize that mesh or whatever, you know, the fastest way. So my mind just goes in. Lately I've been like super like inspired to just do 3D all the time. I like, actually, like last week I didn't even draw, which is something that hasn't happened in like a while, me not drawing like from life. I didn't even draw because I was just sculpting. I was just doing 3D modeling like all the time. And I'm good with it. I'm not doing like being forced to do it. I just have a couple of projects there in my mind, and a couple of projects ongoing that might like condition my future, my career. And eventually, that's what I believe, at least, like if I just dedicate my soul and heart into this, like what I really love, eventually, like jump is gonna happen, you know? It's gonna happen. I don't really care how and when, but it is gonna happen. And I know from recent feedback that I've had from a lot of colleagues, of a lot of people that I know from the industry, that I'm going on the right path, that I'm doing things right. I'm doing the right things. I mean, doing the things right. If I was doing like things right, I would have gotten the jump already. Yeah, but I haven't. All right, let me just polygroup this. All right. Now I know what's happening right there. Maybe I'll just do an auto groups. Yeah, I think I know what's happening here. So auto groups, and now the retopology should work. Right, let me just do a little polish by groups first. A little polish right there. See what happens. Whoa, crazy geometry. See? Sometimes you want to check your topology. And this, I bet my ass that this was the thing that was bogging ZRemesher down. All these tiny little polygroups and indentations and stuff like that. This is never going to be seen, so I don't really care much about it. So let's go like trim dynamic and just flatten this off. And maybe go smooth stronger. Smooth stronger. Yeah, okay. And then just smooth stronger the ass out of this. Oh, yeah. Control N. Yeah. That happens. Like Shift S, I think. Just post like an image right there. Control N to clear the canvas. Yeah, and now maybe I can polish my groups a little bit. Maybe. Let's hope. Just a little bit, like 3. Value of 3. Yeah, and if this works, then I can just group it all, ZRemesher, and hope for the best. So what I was saying is like lately, even like 3D, like magazines, I've been getting these monthly. This issue is like this month's 3D World issue, and it's amazing for like games artists. I already like flipped through it really fast. I just got this today on the mail, and it has like a plethora of articles for creating low polygon hand painted assets, which is like, I flipped through this workflow, and it's like the very old school workflow of doing things, like just Maya Photoshop, you know, like this is part 1, I think. Setting up for painting, blocking it all in, the details, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is like part 1. Yeah, exactly. And then there's like erosion and terrain creation using Gaia, you know, creating height maps and stuff like that. Then there's like the low poly hand weapon, game weapon. I don't really like this one also. But then there's like fan art, like a big fan art piece. You know, it has like, it's the cover piece. And there's like a tutorial and videos, like the time-lapse videos on the drive that they provide. This is actually reminiscent of my first class ever I taught in 3D, like right there. I did a shield exactly like this one, and I think the topology was the same as well. There's not much to say about it, like the topology of that shield. So this is awesome, you know, like this article, this issue of 3D World, like has digital domains, you know, behind the scenes, how to create like the making of Dune, you know. So yeah, again, I've been surrounding myself with like a lot of like 3D reference and 3D articles and magazines and stuff like that. So now this is a lot lower polygon than Control D, but it's not that much lower, so I don't know, maybe I'll just keep it as it is. Yeah, I'll just keep it as it is. Because why not? Smooth out some areas. Maybe trim dynamic just to get crispy edges. Get something like this. This is also not ideal. Just go in, smooth this out. Using trim dynamic basically, just to block things out. Again, once I'm doing like the final retopology, if you really want to do and see some technical stuff, it's gonna be a few streams from now, which is when I'm gonna go through the final retopology, like the game ready retopology, and doing the bakes in. I could do them in Substance Painter. I could do them in Substance Designer, which is awesome. What up, Huckby? The people that watch your streams will watch them whether it's 3D or gaming, just to do what you feel like, just do what you feel like doing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, again, it's like lately I've been doing 3D a lot. Not necessarily, because some people just go to Twitch, I think, just looking for art. Some people just go to Twitch looking for people playing a specific game, for example. You know, someone wants to see like League of Legends, you know, gameplay and competitive gameplay, and just searches like League of Legends, and just everything that's League of Legends pops up. And then again, it's like, of course I'll do like what I want, and even if I do like gaming things, I would play whatever the heck I want, you know. Yeah, as well. That's true. That's true. Sometimes I do that as well. I do have like Twitch on while I'm working, and just put something like, of course normally it's like 3D related, but that's me because I'm a nerd. But you know, but it's like anything on, and sometimes I don't even listen specifically. I know this is a really bad thing to say, but yeah. So yeah, this was like a demo on how to reuse, actually more a demo on how to reuse assets from Megascans to just get the stylization of the asset itself. I still don't feel very happy about this one, though. This one is still not... Let me check something here. Maybe if I turn this on, let's check how this goes. Maybe this works better than that blockout. I don't know. Like, blockout is not finished yet, so might be jumping the gun here. Let me duplicate this, isolate both this and this, and maybe Z-remesh this one. Z-remesh this one to half. Any day now. Is it? Yeah, done. Ooh, nasty geometry. What the heck happened here? Why would he keep these loops spread apart? Ugh, nasty geometry. I think he was looking at the edges, maybe? Nope, adaptive size, I think that's it. Let me turn adaptive size to 0. And then just go same. I wonder why Zremesh is taking so long. Yeah, this is way better. If I could just let me get the whole thing back up. Right. Whoa, yeah, I don't need this anymore, actually. I could just delete this. This was just an experimentation that I was doing in class. Yeah, ooh, what the heck? Oh, yeah, what? Why did these get separated? What the heck's going on here? If this happens, that means I can't project. Yeah. You can see actually the name of the asset right there. Let me just see if I... Yeah. What? Let me do Zremesh again. Yeah, this is a lot like tedious, like just Zremeshing over and over again until I get like the perfect, not the perfect, but the ideal geometry to sculpt on. I could still use this as a block out, even to just sculpt rocks and get in between. Let me just check this topology. No, he's okay. I removed the sword from there because it's a lot of polygons. Just the sword, and I think my computer was starting to feel the tension. All right, so now I wanna turn off everything. Just keep these two. Select this. Go to project geometry, project all, and now maybe do one division. Control D. And project all again. There we go. Now I have two subdivisions, linear geometry. And what I do have is this. This is also clean for some reason. Versus this. Really, it doesn't matter. Like, really. I'm overcomplicating things. Again. Because I feel like I should just move on. And just keep blocking out the sculpture itself. So, right. Now, this topology right here is a mix of the block out, and it's actually, I think it's Dynameshed. It was Dynameshed a couple of times. So it was done in order to get this. It was Dynameshed with groups on, which means that each of these is actually a separate mesh still, each of the polygroups. So I can fairly easily just click this with Control Shift on and just sculpt this rock there. So I could just go in and just smooth out the edge and just start trim dynamic the heck out of this, just the edge thing to make it a little rounder. Whoa, smooth this out, just make it rounder, something like that. Smooth it out, make it rounder. Again, flatten this out and make the silhouette a little rounder. So maybe I go to the top, grab my move infinite depth and just go like so. Maybe smooth this. What the hell? How am I going to go through this? Alright, trim dynamic. Whoops. Smooth this a lot and then go in, break this apart. And again, I'm always thinking about like, how would this, like, would this be flat here? Really? I don't think so. But again, I have a rock right there, so I need to think which piece should be flat. I could just go here with the with my gizmo and then mask everything out and just block out, for example, like this chunk of rock. This is Dynamesh again, so I could easily just do this and just block out this part of the mesh and have like that rock sitting there. And now since it's Dynamesh, I could use the Dynamesh with groups on, blur down to 0, maybe grab the open circle and then just get Dynameshing. And you can see it's re-Dynamesh that geometry and it's still like an individual mesh anyway because it's split by polygroups. So, so that's a thing. This was another game-changing thing that Paul taught us. Again, if you want to check out his new course, his new lifetime mentorship, actually, which is like a bargain. Actually, it's like $500 or $600 for life. For life, you get like infinite workshops. Like there's 2 already scheduled. There's one in December and the other in May. So you have like 2 workshops already for half the price I paid for his class, which is like an 11-week class, you know, a term. So and you're gonna learn so much. Again, it's like the amount of information that he just throws at you every week. It's crazy. It's scary, actually. I would even call it, like, back in class, I would say like, oh, so is this? I mean, anytime he showed us like a crazy feature in ZBrush, we would be like, is this like the black magic arts part of the class? It's like, because it looks like black magic. It seems impossible. Like people that came from a background in traditional like box modeling and watching some of the things he does in ZBrush would be like, Jesus. I was constantly thinking like, why did I waste, you know, but I felt like I wasted so much time just learning Maya. Why? Because I could do this like so much faster in ZBrush. Alright, so this is a little not edgy enough. This is too round. But again, I have to see it in context. Right. I'm gonna use the orb brushes. I feel like they're better to get me like, they give me a little better result when it comes to these kinds of assets. A little harsher, leaner cuts and edges. Now I could just go in. See, I get like a cleaner, like Warcraft style sort of polishing with this. Again, going too much detail. You don't want that. But I could go cracks and just crack this just to make it look like a rock, you know, ideally. Brush turn dynamic. Again, maybe the smooth stronger is not the best. Brush smooth. Or is this smooth? Smooth? Yeah, smooth. So I don't wanna, I wanna smooth slightly because I want to keep those cuts, because that was an happy accident right there, and I want to keep it. Check the topology right there, and there we go. And there we go. And there we go. Now I could smooth this out, because again, it's not going to be seen. So all I cared about was that part right there, which is awesome right now. I think it stands really well. And now this part of the mesh is also another thing that I need to, it depends, like if it's going to be seen from the back, then I might need to take care of this. This is still a little, feels a little too empty. But then again, I want this to be right at the bottom. That's fine. All I have to do is like place this right here. Because this is still, this was imported like as a Megascans asset, and then I did the retopology and manually carved in these parts, and now the process would be to actually stylize this, you know, exaggerate some things, and then just or sculpt detail, because that's what I want. And there's a lot to sculpt here, yet eventually I'm gonna need to move on and just do like finish this up too, because there's a lot of things that I still need to do when it comes to, like, you know, texturing, baking, stuff like that, to make it game ready. But again, I might need to just go in and do our little old I'm gonna have to change my protective glass on my tablet. Yeah, extender, go put the extender right there, maybe right there, and bam, there we go. Maybe not that much. Maybe do something like this, maybe something like that. And then I would have to resculpt that, you know. Same issue. See, it already gives me like the topology I need, which is like crazy, right? Again, one of those features, right? All right, so I have another mesh. Where is my mesh right now? Yeah, I have the other mesh right there. You can see it's a little less cleaner, again, because I sculpted this using, this has a little bit of that, you know, wankiness, because it still had the, it still had like the topology from the original like Megascans thing, and then I sort of sculpted it there. But it's in order to keep like the overall feel. This is the z-remeshed part with the adaptive size up to max, and you can see that gets a little weird. But then I use this, I did another z-remesh with very, very low polygon count, like this is the one, and then I projected, and I'm going to use like subdivisions to actually sculpt this. But again, if I want something like up until like the bottom, this is an option. Could go like this, maybe something like that, and there we go. And then it's just a matter of sculpting that. But here still, I feel like this should be more appealing, like from the back. I wasn't thinking about it because I was thinking like I need a couple of renders from this side, which could still work. I could just do like a half turntable and just have the vines right there coming from somewhere, because the vines is still something else that I would do, and fairly easy to block this out. If you guys want to see, it's just going in with a Z-sphere and just grabbing the Z-sphere. Where's the freaking Z-sphere? Oh, grab transparency on, right? And just putting the Z-sphere where you want. For example, imagine it's right there. Put the Z-sphere right there. Scale. And then after scaling, move this right there. And now if I'm starting off from that, just draw another Z-sphere, move, and start blocking out like where I want the vines to go. And you see then, this is like actually the last thing I'm gonna do, because it's going to like 4 hours streaming straight, which is something I didn't even take a break. I should have. My back's not gonna thank me tomorrow, I can tell you that. Autosave, finally. There we go. And now move this just to get sort of like the armature of the vines. Again, I would go for something like or maybe like this. Again, I could just put it like at the end of where I want, and then just draw another Z-sphere and just move it where I want, and then draw another one, and just go in, draw another one. You can see where this is going, right? Just blocking in sort of the vines going up. And again, I could just go in and draw another Z-sphere coming from this one. If I wanted, for example, another like secondary branch, you know, going like this and then scaling it. And this eventually is going to be this geometry. Ugh, this is not a good character. Let's go adapt this again, turn this down to 0, 1 density, and I would get this geometry, which is like a good block out. And then I would use like the poly loop feature from ZModeler to just create a couple of loops with polygroups, and then frame with a curve brush and use like curve, you know, profile that looks sort of like a vine, and then just sculpt it all from there. Again, this in Maya, this would be, oh, I can tell you it would take a lot longer for sure. Let's move this out, move this right there. I could just tweak this to get it to the tree right there. Draw another Z-sphere. Whoops. And just go like this. And then draw another like so. Draw another right there. Sometimes the transparency mode just gets on my nerves, because this is the transparency mode, not. Again, blocking out. These Z-spheres are amazing for just blocking out pathways of things. Like, I don't know, like like pipes, or, you know, tunnels, and, you know, grooves and vines and trees and whatnot. If I had to sculpt like by hand a tree, I would probably use Z-spheres for the initial block out, and then use that mesh as a base for maybe sculpting using Dynamesh and projecting again. It's a whole bunch of different ways you could go about it. So again, draw. Oops. Another here. Maybe scale this down. Move it here. Draw. There we go. Move it here. No, I would have to look at reference for this, you know, for vines. And here I could just go in, put it right there, then draw. I wouldn't even need to just use the curve thing. I could have just sculpted it. I could just sculpt it right off the bat, like from here. And just get yeah, imagine that this is the vine crawling. It should come from the bottom, to be honest. So I could just crawl another vine right there. Again, doesn't really matter, because all I want is like a simple variation, like to create more variation, because this is going to be almost identical to this one, except for details. So I want a visual distinction between one side and the other, so it doesn't look symmetrical. I could tell you, for example, that this asset is the same as this. It's exactly the same, but I used the knife curve brush to cut that part open, Z-remeshed it, and then sculpted the inside a little bit. This is exactly the same asset. Just turned around, basically. Turned a little and then cut to make it look like it's broken. You have to be smarter again. Like you have to work smarter, not harder. That's my motto from now on. So you reuse a lot of assets. You can see here, we reuse this asset, which was this one. All right, so these stairs are these ones from Megascans, and it doesn't look anything like what we have right here, right? Because it's, again, you don't just reuse them like copy pasted, right? You want to, why do I have this? Yeah, you reuse assets, but intelligently. You want to design the assets. You want to not just reuse stuff. You want to be able to use whatever, just steal things from other resources, and then sort of steal it and make your own, like, from that. I think that's okay. It's free, so there's no royalties involved and stuff like that. If there were, it could be an issue, but no royalties involved in Megascans, so you could use Megascans. This, I'm not really confident we should be using this. Should be using this, but not that. Take this out, and then we're going to use something else for that. Again, maybe I'll just put a tree there. I don't know, because I feel like this is too naked, like on the top. This is supposed to be like a deep forest thing, you know, altar, something like that. The tree, I wasn't even confident enough that I would put it at the end. This is not even reworked. This is actually the tree with just a Z-remesh on top, and then, you know, it's like it has Sculptures Pro, a little bit of Sculptures Pro right there. You can see that. And it's fine as well if you want to not even retopologize the mesh and just work with Sculptures Pro. For example, like this part came from the Megascans. If I just go in, just turn on Sculptures Pro and start like going nuts here, it's okay. I could just go in and start sculpting in the branch a little bit, just getting to like dem standard, get like cuts. Getting cuts like so, for example. Just smooth it out and then get like these sort of vines right there, like these striations inside the tree. Of course, we're not doing realism, so this is all gonna be like simplified. I would have to look at like stylized, a lot of stylized reference for this, which I don't have, honestly. Again, I could use like frame dynamic and just sculpt on the direction. Maybe I'll turn like Sculptures Pro off for now and just sculpt in the direction of the tree trunk, so it gives me like this faceted look that's kind of stylized in kind of common stylized trees, like this heavy faceted look, sort of to simplify the striations. And on the inside, I'm guessing it could be something like that, but I'm guessing, so I'll take my word for it. I would go in, smooth it out, so dynamic. Yeah, but maybe I'll just take out this tree. Maybe I'll just use like a stump or something there with vines crawling out. I don't know. Like a lot of possibilities, and that's the problem with this project, because I'm doing the concepting as well for the environment itself, so it might take a while. If it takes too much, I'll just forget about it and just submit whatever I have. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna finish it up here. I'm gonna wrap it up, and it's been awesome coming back to stream, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I'm gonna start doing these. I'll try to do this weekly, at least once a week. That would be awesome. Just keep working on my like portfolio pieces. I'll try to make some variation in sort of shift between this piece and the weapon and maybe anatomy studies. I'll keep like bouncing around between those projects so it's not like always the same thing, you know. But it would be awesome if you guys stay tuned and watch. That would be cool. All right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Rodolfo Silva, streaming to you live on Twitch and YouTube. And thank you guys for watching, and I hope you keep sculpting and doing 3D. I hope this inspired you a little bit. It was a little technical, I know. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and see you soon. I'm out.